Several hands in, we pick up ace-king suited in middle position with a straddle to 200 on, a raise to 500. We don't waste any time going head-to-head with Airball. He reaches for chips, 3-betting 3,000 from the small blind after waking up with the premium as well. Do we go for a call and see it flop in position? Against certain players I would, but Nick is more capable than most to be 3-betting light. Will often be best. I 4-bet to 8,500 for value. I'm okay getting it in for 30,000 right away if we need to. Nick realizes I'm not messing around. He prefers to see a flop rather than 5-bet into a range of hands he's flipping with or that crushes him. He calls for 5,500 more. It's possible that he's got the same hand or aces, kings, queens, or jacks, although aces and kings are less likely. We're heads up in position with 17,000 in the middle. The flop comes jack 7 deuce with 2 clubs. We brick it, only having 2 overs and a backdoor straight draw. Nick checks his overpair. Our range is quite strong after 4-betting. I'd like to keep control of the pot and get to the river with minimal investment going forward. I downbet to 4,000. It's less than a quarter of the pot. I'd expect the opponent to call at a high frequency. If we don't improve on the turn, we can check back to see a river for free. Airball throws a wrench in that plan. He check jams for 21,000 total. It's only 17,000 more to me. We're not quite getting the right price to stick around with 2 overs though. I fold. It's a monster pot that I lose right off the bat. About 40% of my stack evaporates immediately. I add on for 20,000 more. Starting out in a 5-figure hole is the exact opposite of what I was hoping for. 10 hands later, we're dealt queen jack suited under the gun. We'll be playing all suited broadways from early position. I raise to 300. Mo must be misreading his cards. He calls on the button. Brown Balla is suspiciously dealt the exact same cards his friend Airball beat me with recently. He even has the exact same suits. I'm not saying any cheating is taking place, but if I wasn't one of the owners of this club, I'd bring the situation up with one of the owners. Small blind 3-bets to 1,600. Folding at this juncture is completely reasonable, especially given the fact that the button is still in the hand behind me. But I know Mo makes a lot of speculative calls pre-flop. We're playing deep. I'd like to get involved. I call for 1,300 more. Mo now becomes aware that one of his cards is in fact a 7. He folds like I hoped. We're down to heads up and we're in position. The flop comes ace king 6 with 2 clubs. It's not particularly great for us. All we have is a Broadway draw. Small blind makes a tiny bet at 900. We're getting over 5-1 on a call with the possibility of drilling the nuts. It's an opportunity that I can't pass up. I call to see the turn. The dealer pairs the ace. Now we could be drawing dead, but the small blind may not be all that happy to see such high cards out there. He checks. Is this a trap, or is this genuine concern about the board? I bet 3,200 to find out and hopefully win the 5,500 in the middle immediately. I'd expect third pair type hands to fold pretty often. If I get called, I'll shut down because it's too likely the opponent will have trips or better. Small blind calls. It's absolutely not what I wanted to see, but we're going to get some help.
There's the 10. Brad drills Broadway.
There's an interesting situation. We hit the straight, but the board is paired. We can't always be afraid of monsters under the bed though. I bet 10,000 to target hands like ace 4 and ace 5 suited, maybe some ace queen and ace jack, although we have removal to those combos. The small blind has close to the worst hand that he'll ever have, but he isn't giving up just yet. He's taking his time. Perhaps he's thinking about doing something nefarious on a board that'll often be much better for him than it is for us. Calling isn't appealing, and ultimately raising isn't what he was going to do either. He folds, we get a fortunate run out to retrieve some chips. We're only down a very manageable $7,000. We've got all night to get it back. In this one we look down at the best hand in poker under the gun. That's right, I raised a 300 with the jiggities. It's only a couple hands after bluffing Carl with a 2x jam. He's got revenge mode activated as he calls next to act with queen 7 suited. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes king 8 deuce rainbow. We've got second pair. I check to the in position player. He's not looking to get too wild. He checks back. The turn is the jack of clubs, spicing things up. We drill a hidden set. Carl improves as well. No more free cards. I bet 550. This is played in normal speed. Carl snap raises to 2,000 without hesitation. There are quite a few draws that we need to protect against, and if Carl was slow playing a king, 2 pair, or a set on the flop, we might be able to get it in on this street before any scare cards come out. I re-raise to 5,000. We get another quick decision from Carl, who doesn't have that much remaining in his stack. He calls for 3,000 more. Once more, we're playing a 5-figure pot. If you glance to the left-hand corner of the screen, we see Carl only has a 16% chance of winning the hand. If you continue looking, that number gets replaced by a check mark as he drills the river 6 of clubs. It's a nightmare run out for me. I don't necessarily expect to get raised by flush draws by the in-position player on the turn. When people make backdoor flushes after taking that line and I have sets, I'm just going to double the opponent up frequently on the river if they have less than a pot-sized bet remaining in their stack. I don't want to check and allow the opponent an opportunity to check back with every other combo he might have that's worse than ours. I jam for 8,500 effective. It's another quick decision for Carl. He calls with the third nuts. I know before the cards are turned over that I'm beat. It's disappointing to feel like I got there on the turn only to get sucked out on in a massive pot of almost $30,000 on the river. On 84% of river cards, I get myself out of the early deficit and I'm winning money on the day. It's hard not to be frustrated by the outcome. Losing on stream with friends and family watching adds another layer to it. It's 2 hands after I double up Carl with the jiggities. The straddle to 200 is on. Airball raises to 500 from the hijack. Brown Balla saw what happened with my jiggities and doesn't have much faith in him anymore, as he only calls rather than 3 bets. This opens the door for the small blind to come in. He calls with suited connectors. We've got a medium pocket pair in the big blind that generally plays well multi-way. I call with pocket 8s. Carl defends his straddle with the call. We're going 5 ways to the flop. It comes 6-4 deuce with 2 hearts. We've got an overpair to the board, but we're not the only one. Checks to the button. He bets 1,000. It's less than 40% of the pot. The small blind folds. There's no way that we're going anywhere. I call. The straddler folds and airball folds. It's down to heads up. The turn is the king of clubs. We're downgraded to second pair, but the king doesn't connect with the flop at all, so I mostly consider it a blank unless the opponent happens to have king 6 suited or king high heart draw. I check, expecting to see the opponent slowed down with almost all of his pairs below top pair, and really only continuing to fire with those few combos containing a king I mentioned earlier, and perhaps semi-bluffs with non-paired flush draws, or hands like pocket 5s or pocket 3s to block the straight. The button bets 3,000. Flop draws haven't improved. There's a decent chance 8s will be best. I call. The river is the jack of clubs completing the backdoor flush. It'll often mostly be a brick since the front door flush missed, and the only straight possibility is still 5-3, which I don't expect the button to have. I check. There's no letting up from the opponent. He makes almost a pot-sized bet of 10,000. I'm very confused about how the jack might have helped him. He probably would have bet more on the flop with a set. Maybe he has king jack of hearts or a hand like 8-7 of clubs since the 8 of clubs isn't accounted for, but that's only a few combos of hands. It makes sense to me that he played this way for value. Meanwhile, he can have all kinds of missed draws. Remember, there's only 2 hands after I lost the all-in against the backdoor flush when I turned the set. My mind is a bit scrambled from that brutal beat. Am I just running into it over and over, or is the opponent just trying to get me off a pair of 6s, which is probably what it looks like I have given how I've played this up to this point. It seems too likely that this is a bluff attempt. I call. The opponent reveals that he played jiggities in a tricky way, then significantly improved on the river, giving him enough confidence to punish me for the maximum amount. I'm down over $30,000. Everything works out as well as possible for the button after his somewhat surprising call pre-flop.
You just called me with jacks?
I was trapping.
You trapped Brad.
Yeah.
That wasn't very nice.
It was alright. I deserved it.
He said he deserved it.
We're first to act. After the under the gun player straddles, I raised to 500 with ace-jack offsuit. Mo calls in the small blind. The straddler calls for 300 more to see flop as well. 3 of us are in. The dealer puts out ace-queen-9 rainbow. We've got top pair with a good kicker and a backdoor straight draw. It's a flop that'll crush our range, but Mo doesn't care. He surprisingly leads for $650. T1000 folds immediately. I'm not sure what to make of this bet. It's highly unlikely that the small blind has a set since he didn't 3-bet pre-flop like he would have with aces or queens. We don't want to raise because we might fold out some of the hands that we're dominating. I call to keep the opponent I know to be wild in the hand. The turn is the 7 of spades. It's a blank. The opponent doesn't seem to be concerned that we could have him beat. He makes an overbet of 3,500. I still have no idea what's going on, but the way the day has been going, it's hard not to feel like I'm either beat in some ridiculous way or the opponent is somehow going to improve on the river. I've got to just take things one street at a time and make the best decisions I can in the moment without worrying too much about anything else that has happened or will happen. I call the 3,500. The river is the jack of clubs, giving us 2 pair. I'm not entirely sure it's a good card for us since there's still some small possibility that the opponent has ace queen or a set of 9s. Plus, the types of hands that it makes sense for the small blind to be bluffing with on the flop and turn are hands like straight draws, and a couple of them just got there. I feel a bit relieved when the small blind checks. I doubt Mo would fire on the flop and turn with a gutter, get there, then all of a sudden shut down. Our 2 pair should be the best hand, and we've got some money that we've got to get back from this table. I bet 7,000, putting Mo in the blender. Mo's probably realizing right now that maybe he should have taken a slightly different line post-flop. What I have going for me is the image of being a loser, not just to my 13-year-old stepdaughter, but also at the table. It makes it tougher to get bluffs through, but it's easier for me to get paid off when I have it and make big bets, like in this instance. Mo calls, we turn over our 2 pair, it's the winner. A pot of $24,000 comes our way to get me out of the doldrums.
A jack on the river finally helped Brad.
Yeah.
I cancel my one-way flight to visit the Aokigahara forest in Japan as we make a substantial dent in the deficit. 6 hands go by when brown baller raises to 300 from under the gun +1 with a speculative holding. We look down at ace-king suited in the hijack. After an early position raise, this may be surprising to some people, but we're supposed to mostly flat with ace-king offsuit when playing 400 or more big blinds deep. Ace-king suited is a pure 3-bet though. I mix it up anyway, and a flat call to play a little tricky. Brown baller played his jiggities tricky earlier and it worked out for him. Hopefully it'll work out for me. Airball calls for 200 more in the big blind. We're going 3 ways through the flop. It comes 9-8-4 with 2 spades. Everyone has a piece. Airball has top pair. The pre-flop raiser has second pair. We've got to draw to the nuts with an ace as an out as well. It checks to us. This is a great flop for our actual hand and for our entire pre-flop calling range since we can have all the sets and strong draws. I bet 600. It's about 60% of the pot. Airball calls quickly. Under the gun +1 isn't going anywhere yet. He calls as well. The turn is the 5 of hearts. Generally, it's going to be a card that improves the big blind's hand more than anyone else since he'd be the most likely to have a straight or 2 pair. He reps those with a bet of 1,500. It's a strong move after all 3 of us have shown interest post-flop. The lead exudes so much strength that under the gun +1 just flats with his middle 2 pair because he needs to be worried that one or both of his opponents could have him in bad shape. Our hand still has potential, but we now need to hit a non-8 or 5 spade. An ace won't suffice anymore. We're getting almost 4-1. I call. The river is the queen of spades, giving us the nuts. Jack 10 gets there as well. Neither opponent is happy to see the final card. They both check to us. We're going to be betting. If we bet river after the most obvious draw gets there, when multiple opponents put money in on the flop and turn, it's going to look incredibly strong no matter what. I'm not going to target 1 pair hands because the opponents are too sharp to call with those combos. I bet 11,000 to hopefully get called by a flush or straight and mostly just target the top of my opponent's ranges. This sizing might look a little bluffy, so there's some slight chance that we can get called light if one of our opponents doesn't believe us. Airball is thinking about hanging in there with only second pair. He's spending a lot of time analyzing the situation and considering looking me up, even with another player left to act behind him. After 40 seconds, the big blind folds. Under the gun +1 folds right away. I bluffed earlier with a large overbet. This time, I happen to have it.